think that what makes me really annoyed by crypto and the whole kind of conversation around it is that it started out as saying we need to democratize wealth, right? It started out as a way to provide the little guy, right, the little person with an opportunity to build wealth that Wall Street doesn't provide, right? And so on the onset, it was this idea that we're going to democratize wealth. And, you know, the dollar and currencies, they were all made up too, right? And so this is just going to be something that we iterate on into the future, right? And so you got to get in now. The get in now part was like the guy on the corner twirling the sandwich thing, saying, "Get it now, it's
right.
It's on
that's
sale."
The tell. Yeah, that's the tell.
To me, that was always the tell, and it was like, get in now. Okay, all right. And so, can you talk about then the way that it was sold, which was it wasn't directed at the super wealthy to make them more wealthy, right? The way that crypto was pitched it was pitched at people who don't have a lot and telling them the tale that you too, can end up on a super yacht at the end of this month if you just, get in now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the story. So what cryptocurrency is an economic narrative. Robert Shiller, the Nobel Prize winning economist, talks about how economic narratives form. There are stories that are in reaction to real events. So the Bitcoin white paper, which was released in October of 2008, said we're going to create. Obviously, in 2008, everyone hated the banks even more than we usually do because everything had fallen apart. And so it said we're going to create a peer-to-peer currency. We're going to avoid the banks, and you're going to be able to send this code. Technically, even that wasn't true because a blockchain is basically a shared database. So you're not even technically going peer-to-peer, but leaving that aside for the moment, that was the aspiration, right? We're going to avoid the banks. And yeah, to your point, that's going to sort of democratize, decentralize money. Then the story, that didn't really work for very long. Like, basically, people had no reason to put real money into it because they couldn't buy anything with it. They couldn't do anything with it. It wasn't worth anything. Somebody spent, I think it was like 10,000 Bitcoins on like 2 pizzas in like early 2010s, which would now be supposedly worth like $1 billion or whatever. It was cute. Like, you could mine it on your home computer. It was a bunch of nerds like sitting around, swapping this stuff. Then the Silk Road came along, which was the online drug marketplace that eventually the feds shut down. And that's where Bitcoin found its first use case. Like, up until like the last bubble of 2016, 2017, 2018, the Silk Road was the biggest onboarding mechanism for crypto. You wanted to buy drugs, you wanted to buy weapons. There were lots of
just a recap: gambling, weapons, drugs.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, and these are the things that like the crypto bros go like, oh, you're painting us in such a bad light. How dare you? Blah blah blah. I'm like, guys, I'm not making this stuff up. Like, you can look at it. You can look at the charts. You can go through the history. It is what it is. All I'm trying to say is, so the Silk Road was shut down. God, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was 2013. And crypto, again, went down for a while. And then it came back as other cryptos started to come around. Ethereum, Tether, the stablecoin company was founded. And
more mainstream.
Yeah, all these cryptos started blowing up. And it was the ICO craze, which is the initial coin offering craze, which is basically like an initial stock offering, but illegal. And a lot of celebrities back then were hawking it, including people that have, come into disagreement with law enforcement now, like Lindsay Lohan hawked it back then. She hawked it now. Floyd Mayweather, people like that. Anyway, that crashed, in 2018. And then it came back again in the pandemic as interest rates went, all the way to zero. People had stimulus checks. People were bored. There was no sports gambling, right? Like, sports was shut down for a minute. So what were young men going to do with their money? All of those things contributed to this massive bubble. But if you talk to people in crypto, and I did, and as you were saying, Waj, like at South by, I think that like a couple hours after you interviewed me, I ran into this guy, Alex Mckenzie, who was the CEO of Celsius, this crypto lending firm that has now gone bankrupt. And Mckenzie is being sued for fraud by the New York AG. And I talked to Mckenzie. And I put it in the book, but I asked him how much real money is in crypto, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is March of 2022. I said, how much real money is there?
So
I never expected him to answer. At the time, crypto was supposedly worth $1.8 trillion. And he goes, 10 to 15%. The rest is speculation. Yeah, that's your eyes just did what my eyes in the back of my head did. I tried to.
The rest is speculation.
Yeah.
10 to 15% of actual hard dollars.
Yes.
And
the rest is bubble.
75% is my idea.
Yeah, 85. Like, so do the math there. That means, I called the chapter South by Southwest, the CIA. There was a run-up with the CIA, the whole other thing, and the 1.5 trillion that wasn't there. So if you do the math, that's 1.5 trillion that doesn't exist. And people don't understand that. They don't get that. They think when they buy a Bitcoin, like whatever, let's say the price is, I don't know what it is now. Let's say it's $27,000 a coin. They think that they have $27,000.
Right.
No, you do not. You have whatever the exchange will let you have back.
It's just like a Ponzi scheme, right? It sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it's Ponzi. It's a multi-level marketing scheme. It has dynamics of both. The bastardization of the language is very similar to multi-level marketing. They talk about community a lot. They talk about like, you're not an investor, you're not a sucker. You're a member of a community. You bought into this community, but those are weird communities, right? They exist online. You often never meet actual people in your quote unquote community. So it's a way of basically like redirecting your anger when you get swindled, right? And like finding some shared solidarity in being swindled.
Quick question. Let's use your $27,000 number per coin for Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I have $27,000 and I want to now pull my money, right? The way that I would want to pull my money from the bank, or I'd want to liquidate some of my stocks or what have you. Then what happens?
Well, that depends. If you are using a licensed US exchange that has not shut down, you can probably get your money back. And I want to be clear on that. I'm not trying to disparage licensed exchanges, which interestingly enough, don't even really operate under what we would refer to as a stock exchange license. It's a different license because of a weird regulatory loophole. But nonetheless, if you're a US based, you can probably get your money back, especially if it's not a lot of money. However, if you're trying to get your money out of, say, FTX, well, obviously now you can't.
You can't.
But even before, and Binance, the biggest exchange, it shut down multiple times. Jacob and I wrote an article about Binance for the Washington Post. When the price collapses in Bitcoin, which it does with frequency, the exchanges just shut down, all of them. And we followed a trader the two guys across the world, one guy in Australia, one guy in Toronto. One of them was long, meaning he thought the price was going to go up. One was short, thinking the price was going to go down. The exchange shut down as the price was dropping. And by the time it came back on, they were both liquidated.
Oof.
Both of them. But that's weird, right? How can you be on? Because one of them's right. One of them's correct and the price is going down. But like, basically, look, guys, I said this on Bill Maher, they're very similar to bucket shops. Bucket shops were fake exchanges that existed until the 1920s, until the Martin Act and other legislation was passed. They basically take your real money and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to make the trades. And then they don't really make the trades. Maybe like if you see your money go up, maybe you ask for your money back and they give you the money. It's kind of like a Ponzi scheme, right? It's like, it's all none of this stuff produces value. So at best, you're gambling, but at worst, you're being defrauded.
It's 3-card Monty.
I was just about to use that reference.
I'm like, that's what it is. It's moving shit around, and it's like you follow it with your eyes, and if you can catch it, then great. But if you can't, then you're pretty much fucked.
And truly, the historical analogy here, I mean, there's many, but one of them is online poker, because what happened in the 2000s, these companies set up in America, and guys, it's always young dudes, right, who are always like gambling. Bros. I mean, that just, like, we need to be honest about the sociology here. Like, young men take on a lot more risk. They're much more risk tolerant. They obviously, if they have any money, like, they don't always spend it wisely. And they were gambling. The companies, the online poker companies realized law enforcement was going to come for them. And so they moved offshore. They moved to the Caribbean, to the same place, basically, where FTX and all these companies are. And then eventually, in a thing that's a day that's called Black Friday in the online poker community, the feds came in and shut them down. They just literally was like, okay, your website's gone. We've got your money. And what they uncovered was a massive amount of fraud. So they're doing it again. I think what's interesting about the story is like it was all trapped in this like technology, financial liberation, building generational wealth. These appeal to different people, right? LeBron's ads are different than Larry David's ads, are different than Matt Damon's ads, right? And so I think for people like us who understand media, to study why the ads were written the way they were, why they cast the people they cast is I think it's telling.